too. I think the first one looks bigger though. Crazy. Might be a sow on the left. Huh? Now I wait to see what the hell we're doing. Slide right up. It's not the one we called up, is it? Man, that'd take a while. And this is how you come down. Back again. Back again. Just getting light out. Still not back in my game mode yet in my brain, but I'm getting there. Got a lot to do here yet, including taking care of a lot of that meat. Dropped off a bunch at the butcher to get made into sausage and burger, but I saved the shoulders. Thank God I didn't shoot the shoulders because we love the full shoulder blade in roast. So good. Anyway, I got to get all that packaged up. If you hear some background sound, it's the dog chewing on her goodies that I gave her. What else? Quick note, a couple thoughts. what you may call a rant, but I don't think this is a rant. It's just bullshit with my friends at the table, right? It's funny when you're, well, coming home, driving for a couple days, and as usual, you got a lot to think about when you're by yourself and listening and thinking, taking in what's going on the planet and our current corrupt criminals that are running Canada. They increased they made another huge tax increase on taxing heating oil because people could afford it, right? And I was listening to the Nazi spawn, this Chrysler Freeland, who's basically probably the real true commander-in-chief of the Nazi Canadian regime. And she actually comes from a lineage of actual German Nazis. And she's Klaus Schwab's shoulder pet. But anyway, she was on I caught a radio talk show on the way home, which I rarely listen to because it's government funded, the CBC. And she's on there trying to scold Canada and back up why she's taxing pollution. There's no better way than helping the climate of the earth change than taxing people on their pollution. And I couldn't help but absolutely want to bash my head on the steering wheel. I got to mention this and see what everybody thinks. But don't you think that if greenhouse gas emissions, the global warming thing was going down because of us using oil. Now, don't you think that the absolute recipe to quell that, bring it down, would be to slow the F down? Right? I remember when I was growing up, weekends were off. Weekends were for play. Nobody worked on weekends. Definitely not on Sundays. And as things escalate, now it's just a non-stop shit show of go, 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 go. Now, let's just say it's go, go, go. Everybody's got to go to work. Everything's too expensive because criminals are in control. They're taking majority of your money, so you have to work more. That means you got to travel more back and forth to go to work. Every single human being has to do more, go more, which means using up more natural resources, including oil. Well, we're going to teach them a lesson. We're going to change the climate by taxing them more money on their pollution. Well, guess what? When you tax them more, it means they have even less money, and it means they have to work even more, which gobbles up the natural resources more, which creates more emissions. It's just common sense, folks. It's just common sense, right? But it's amazing to sit back and watch that shit show go down and listen to the words coming out of those criminals as they actually try to convince the public that taxing and taking more of their money will change the climate. It's an amazing, insane shit show to watch if you're not easily duped by bullshit, right? But do you think that's true? I mean, why do humans have to go, go, go? Why do we have to keep going, going, going? Why does there have to be more production? Why? You want things to last? You want people to be happy? You slow the F down. Make the work week a 4-day work week, right? Oh, why can't you do that? Well, because you got to pay the bills. Why do you got to do that? Well, you can't afford to slow down because you need more money. Why do you need more money? Because the criminals make it more expensive to live because they need your money. 2, control the labor to appease the entity at all costs, end quote, right? So that's what I got to say. If I had a message to the world when it comes to this climate change thing where people are getting engulfed in the bullshit with it and the surrounding it, would be to slow the F down. We don't have to work 7 days a week. You don't have to work your ass off till you're 65. We're supposed to be here to have the human experience and love every second of it and help each other and have good times and experience the things that make us feel great, right? You want to change the climate? If the climate is being changed from us using gasoline, oil, if that is the ultimate reason, well, the only route to success to change it back would be to slow the F down. End of story. Tell me how you think about that in the comments below. Am I right or am I wrong? Slow down. Make things cheaper so people don't have to work as much, so you don't have to produce as much. Slow down, right? Work 4 days a week instead of 7, right? What's that going to save? Think about it. If we did less, how's that going to have Is that going to, if we did less as a whole, is that going to have a positive or negative impact on the planet we live on? Doing less. But it's the opposite. The more they tax, the more money we need, the more work we have to do. End of story. What an absolute shit show of complete bullshit in your face. Right? Monkey see, monkey do. That's what humans do today. Another thing I was thinking about my long drive home and being alone in the woods, and I'm sitting there overlooking a little plateau, trying to sit there for hours on end. I managed to sit one day for 5 hours straight, not moving. It's a lot of thinking, right? Sometimes you'd have internet connection, sometimes you wouldn't. And one thing this is another side note, another different topic. I gotta say something. Why do I gotta say something? I don't know why I have to say something. But I guess it's probably because the realization of the power of the monkey see, monkey do power over humans is incredible. Especially today, it's absolutely incredible. It's a bizarre thing to watch. You know, I'm trying to picture being a young person right now. You remember when you were, for all of you who may not be around my age, or, you know, maybe your 40s or 50s or more. I remember being young. I remember being in my late teens, early 20s, and life was a confusing, absolute shit show of not knowing which way to stand or look or go. Absolute confusion. And today, when I see what's happening to the younger generations with these things in society today, it's like, good God, I couldn't imagine what it would be like to be a young person right now. Right now. Man, I would not want to be in my late teens, early teens, whatever. I would not want to be a teenager right now compared to the quality of life we had in the past. Man, it must be absolute insanity going on between the ears of so many young people right now as they are being led by that device in their hand. Right? You know, anyways, getting back to what made me think about that right now, some kind of trending craziness is women. And we're talking good-looking women on average who probably don't need any assistance in getting attention. Well, I guess some crazy chick decided that she needed to flash her vagina on mainstream platforms. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and they're talking, they're saying something stupid, looking at the camera, then they back up, and then all of a sudden they whip their pants down just below their vagina and whip it back up again for like a split second. And now they are all doing it. It's the most insane thing. I mean, whatever, you do whatever you need to do, but it's a huge example of me watching the monkey see, monkey do thing, no matter how insane it is. Right? I mean, think about it. Back in the day, hey, Sally, I got a camera right here. You want to flash me your vagina real quick so I can put it online on, show the world? I don't know of any girl that would have even entertained that thought for a second. Be like, what? What's wrong with you? Right now, it's going mainstream. These poor things are being, I don't know, what's the word for it? What's causing this? What's making them think this is okay? And what's making them voluntarily jump on the bandwagon of flashing their vaginas to the world on the internet? It's amazing. It's kind of sad, but it's amazing. What a mind frame. How are their minds operating? What's making their minds think that they need to do that too? Isn't it weird? It's just such a bizarre thing to watch. Which as well fuels my mind to go, man, oh man, I would not want to be a teenager in the world today. Not here in North America anyway. Wow. Anyway, there you go. A couple thoughts. Let me get back on track here. I've been by myself for a while. I'm allowed to speak about off topics because I've got all my friends sitting right here at the same coffee table listening. It's bizarre times, man. It's really bizarre times. Now, what do we got? Where should I start? I haven't a clue. I think I'm going to go with some recent, so I don't just start off my fresh return with, possible repeats. It's just getting light outside right now. It's kind of chilly. Listen to this. Hey, Steve, a couple more for you. Bigfoot, comma. Hey Steve, my name is Dave. For personal reasons, please don't use my last name. Gotcha, Dave. No problem. I've been enjoying your narrations as well as the beautiful animal and wildlife scenery. I've thought about it for a while and wanted to send you my stories. I have 3 separate ones for now which are not connected. Here's the first one. A little about me. I grew up on an acreage in a rough bush area in northern BC. Oh, no shit. We worked really hard and were often in close proximity to all kinds of wildlife. Got my first rifle when I was 9 years old and hunted from that point on until recently. This happened to me 50 years ago when I was 14. I was in the habit of jumping on my motorbike, riding 20 miles further back from the head of the road where we lived into the bush on old logging roads, and then hiking 45 minutes through dense bush to my favorite fishing spot, Rooster Lake. I like to go alone with just my dog. He always knew where I was going and would trot his way out by himself, usually showing up about 30 minutes after I got there. We would usually spend 2 or 3 days there when we went. I didn't pack a lot of gear, my .22, hunting knife, sleeping bag, matches, fishing pole, frying pan, and sometimes I would even remember to bring the salt and pepper. Since I never ever brought food in with me either, I'd head back home and I couldn't stomach any more fish, or if it was too wet, as I also never had a tent. I just slept under the stars in my sleeping bag. I had never even heard of Bigfoot. On this particular trip, it was in late August, 73. As mentioned, I didn't have a tent, just my dog. Just my dog and I. So during my second night sleeping out under the stars at around 2 to 3 a.m., I woke to the sound of something very large moving through the woods on 2 legs, about 25 or 30 feet off to my right on the edge of the brush. I couldn't see anything because my fire was long out and it was overcast. I glanced around to see where my dog was. He was usually nearby me, but was nowhere to be seen. My .22 was just off to my left, and I had my hunting knife beside me inside the sleeping bag. I didn't think the .22 was going to be much help in the event of a big animal attack anyhow, so I left it where it was and slipped my knife out of its sheath inside my sleeping bag. I thought it must be a bear because what else could it be? I lay still, hoping that whatever it was would leave me alone and move on by, but that wasn't in the cards. I was camping on a small rocky point between the ledge of the brush and the lake. It was about 30 feet wide. I was about in the middle between the lake edge and the bush. My feet were pointed mostly toward the lake at an angle, with my head facing mostly toward the woods. I heard this thing moving around to the back of me. It came out of the brush and slowly moved up directly behind my head. As this was happening, I was preparing for the fight I thought was surely coming. So, in my sleeping bag, I slowly shrugged my shoulders up as close to my ears as possible and moved my left hand/arm up over my throat to protect my neck. My right hand was on my chest with my knife tightly gripped and ready to go. If something was going to eat me for lunch, it might be a cheap lunch, but I was going to make sure it wasn't going to be a free lunch. I was sleeping with my head mostly covered by the top of my sleeping bag, with just my eyes, nose, and mouth exposed to the night because of all the mosquitoes. Even though I was on mostly rock, I could feel the footsteps. I've never heard anything breathe so loudly. If you breathed in and out as long and hard as you could in an exaggerated way, it still wouldn't even come close. I swear I could feel the breath. I tell you, I was fully expecting I was going to get my face chomped. I remember thinking to myself, what the hell kind of bear is this? It stopped about 3 feet behind my head, and that's when the smell hit me. I mean, it was bad. I can't even describe it. And in spite of my best intentions to be quiet, lay still and hope it didn't mess with me. I couldn't help gagging and coughing. Now, this part is very hard to explain, and I don't give a shit if people believe me or not. But at that point, I clearly heard a calm voice in my head telling me that I had nothing to worry about. I was perfectly safe, nothing was going to hurt me, and that I should relax and go back to sleep. And right then, I was overcome with a sense of calm and feeling extremely tired. I remember thinking to myself, what the hell? How can I go to sleep at a time like this? My visitor turned and started walking away from me, and I fell right to sleep before it was even gone. I don't remember it leaving other than the first step or two. I slept well and woke up at first light about 6 a.m. to a cow moose up to its mid-belly in the water feeding on the lake bottom, not 25 feet from where I was laying, and my dog was back beside me. This messed with my head for a long time because it was not at all like a bear. It was definitely walking on two legs, and the smell was unlike anything I've ever smelled. I couldn't make sense of it. I never talked to anyone about this until years later, when I told my grown sons. I don't know what they believe. I don't know that they believed me, and I can't say, I don't know that they believed me, and I can't say I blame them, but at least they have the good sense to keep that to themselves. I'm from the era when if someone said they didn't believe you, that's the same as them calling you a liar. And those are fighting words. In spite of that, the experience never deterred me in the least from going back out and camping alone in the same area. Second one. About 7 years later, in 1980, I'm 21 now, living about 30 miles as the crow flies from where I had my first encounter. It was a Saturday afternoon in early March, bright, clear, sunny day with snow melting. Almost felt like it was spring. I was watering some cows. I had 2 5-gallon pails and was filling them from the outside top of the house trailer I was renting. So, I had one of the pails hanging off the tap while it filled. It was facing the side wall of the trailer, monitoring the progress. There was a distance of about 3 feet between me and the trailer wall in front of me. I don't know why, but I suddenly, for no reason at all, moved my gaze up to the roof of the trailer about 15 feet over to my left. Excuse me. I watched for about 10 seconds before this thing comes into view. Exactly where I was looking. Floating over the roof. Moves down and over along the wall to stop directly in front of me, between me and the trailer at chin height. Without moving my feet, I could have easily leaned forward and touched it with my nose. It was literally 8 to 10 inches from my face. It was round and about the size of a large cantaloupe, but it had no outside structure, mostly translucent. You could see through it, but not clearly, except the small center, which was about except the small center, which was about half the size of a dime. It was like a little light, but didn't shine. It looked really dense. That part seemed to almost be solid. It was white, and I couldn't see through it. Radiating out from the center were evenly spaced, colored pieces, about a 1/4 inch diameter of something that moved from the center spot out to the edge where it disappeared, then it repeated. It didn't move fast. About 3 seconds to move from the dense center to where it stopped. It almost looked like it was moving along a clear straw, because it moved in a straight line. It reminded me of a sparkler, only moving much slower than the sparks do. The sound it made was very soft, like a buzz. It reminded me of the fizzy sound you hear when you opened a carbonated beverage. It stayed there stationary for about 40 seconds. Then it slowly moved to my right. Picking up speed, it looped out from the wall and up, shot over the roof, and was gone. The whole time, I never spoke or touched it. I just admired it. It was beautiful, unlike anything I'd ever seen or been taught to believe even existed here on Earth. Clearly some kind of intelligent life form that is not carbon-based. I never told anyone about it until one day I shared it with my one son and 2 teenage grandsons. They didn't know what to think of it because I was serious, and they know I'm not a bullshitter. It just sounds so outrageous. From your channel, I've learned and know now that it was an orb. Third experience came about 10 years later, 1990, and I'm now living 1 province over in northern Alberta. I was working for an oil company west of Grand Prairie. This day I was out in the Kakwa area, and it was about 3:30 in the afternoon. I was by myself. Was working my way out of the bush towards the end of the day, and right where the road joined Highway 40, there was a blue pickup sitting off the road by about 20 feet near where the ditch edged the brush. I came around the corner and drove past the truck to turn north on Highway 40. I remember saying to myself out loud, holy crap, look at the size of that black dude. There, leaning over the far side of the truck box of the blue pickup, was a huge black guy. He was absolutely 100% focused on me and staring at me. Actually maybe even more like glaring at me. Not moving at all, just watching me as I drove by. It kind of intimidated me because there were not many African Americans living in northern Alberta at that time, and I was mindful of being respectful to others and not staring at people who were different. The being had midnight black hair and skin, but the face of a man. He was covered in thick black hair, except for the face. I thought at first he was wearing black coveralls, and I wondered, with all of the push for high visibility clothing in the oil patch, where he had managed to find pitch black coveralls. The whole thing really bothered me because the top of the truck box had toolboxes mounted on the box rails, which on Dodge trucks were about the top shoulder height for me, and I'm just over 6 feet tall. The truck looked like one of those older type Toyota or Datsun trucks because the top of the toolboxes only came up to his belly, and he was leaning with his elbows on top of the toolboxes, never taking eyes off of me. I looked at my side mirror as I passed him, and I saw that the black, what I thought were coveralls, went right to the soles of the feet. That's when I realized this was not a man. When I passed by, he stopped staring at me and went back to his business. He leaned over the side of the truck toolbox and started grabbing stuff from the floor of the truck box and pitching it over his shoulders onto the ground, using one hand, then the other, just emptying the contents of the floor of the truck box. I thought to myself, it must be a bear. What else could it be? I kind of laughed a bit, thinking about how pissed the owner of the truck was going to be when he came back to this mess. But the thing that really bothered me was its face was like a human's, and the way it was so focused on me driving by. I was noodling on it and got about 10 minutes down the road when it occurred to me it couldn't have been a bear, because bears don't have opposing thumbs. How is it picking up stuff from the truck box, pitching it out in the ditch one-handed, if it didn't have an opposing thumb? Impossible. Thinking of perspective, how it stood up to and towered over that Ram 3/4 ton truck, this thing had to be 9 feet tall. I don't remember ever telling anyone about this experience. Needless to say, I've always been very open-minded and accepting of what some call myths or wives' tales. There is so much going on around us that we have no understanding of. Only those mesmerized, or should I say oblivious, believe the mainstream narratives. That's it for me, Anne, for now. Thanks in advance for your venue, for sharing this. I truly hope it helps someone. Best wishes and regards, Dave. I'll just say from Alberta, Dave. And there you go. It's quite the share, man. Crazy. Not crazy, but there you go. See any patterns in there, you guys? It's the glaring part that's got, I'm curious about still, the glaring part, looking at us with absolute disgust while being built so freaking powerful. It's funny what the more, I mean, if you've been listening to the people, right? The people, which we have been focusing on this whole time. We focus on the people, not individuals. The people. It's key. I can't drill that into the audience, the public, more enough. Enough is how important it is to listen to people. That's your number one source for every and any knowledge, is listen to the people, right? When now, as I've been learning, listening to all of you and learning even more, it almost I feel almost even more alarmed. I get more alarmed when I see individuals who need you to listen to them, right? And we all know when it comes to this topic, and more, and all topics, when it comes to this topic, that in the past there has been an overwhelming amount of people who need you to listen to them. Isn't that alarming? Isn't that a crazy frickin' streak character flaw? I'm sure it wouldn't take you long to go online and investigate this topic and go to various channels, whatever you want to call them. And it will be easy for you to find those individuals that need you to listen to them. That is a big, bright red flag in your face, right? And there's no shortage of them. And if you don't listen to them, then they attack you. It's the most blatant in-your-face pattern there is when it comes to these wackos and this whacked-out topic, right? Listen to me. If you don't, I'm going to attack your ass, right? It's like that wacko from back east, who's one of the first easier examples for me. Okay, I've already mentioned it. All these people reaching out to me, want me to jump on their bandwagon, didn't reply to them, and they go to try to tear you down. It's a really weird thing. Now, if you've been listening to the people and the facts that you pull from the people's first-hand experiences as they honestly share with you what they saw, what they heard, what they smelled, it doesn't take long to realize that these beings are not animals. It doesn't take long to realize, if you're listening, and if your brain functions smoothly, independently, openly, it doesn't take long to figure out that these beings are much, much more. Much, much more, right? Now, when you think of the intelligence of these beings and whatever's going on out there, whoever they are, you think of their intelligence, the qualities they possess that we possibly have lost touch with. And then you go to looking and watching people selling expeditions. Holy shit, right? All right, sure, fair enough. Maybe 20 years ago you might have pulled that off and it actually came across as credible. Maybe you were credible and innocent, but not anymore. I don't give a flying shit who you are. If you're selling Bigfoot expeditions right now, you are one of the biggest frauds that ever walked the face of the earth when it comes to this topic, and that's the way I feel about it. You'll never change my mind. You're a frickin' fraud. Big time. With the knowledge we have today on this topic, please, really? I mean, I could have just bypassed all this and listened to all these people and I just could have signed up for an effing expedition? Damn, why didn't I do that earlier? Right? All right, I'm babbling. Sorry, I haven't babbled for a while. No, I'm not sorry. Now, moving along. Book a Bigfoot expedition. Good God. Wow. Wow. All right, what do we got here? Have I read this? All right. This is titled BF Sightings. All 3 daytime sightings. Hey, Steve, it's Eric from Chilton County, Alabama again. I've got more encounters to share with you and the HTH family. Excuse me. I've had 3 daytime sightings now, and all 3 happened within 6 months of each other. I've already shared the first sighting, but I'll share it again with the new listeners. It's been over a year now since you read it. All right. First sighting. I already sent this one in to you, but I will go back over it for the new listeners. Plus, I didn't give the correct size and the correct distance from which I saw the big guy. Out on the back porch, smoking a cigarette, I looked through the thin wood line behind my house. On the other side of the trees, there is an open field that stretches out around 130 yards or so. At the back of that field is a pine tree. The lowest branches are right around 10 feet from the ground. I looked at the pine tree, and there's something black in front of the tree, and it went all the way up those bottom branches. I just think that the tree had been burned. So I look away for a few minutes and then look back over there, and the pitch black burned spot that I thought it was had moved towards me about 20 or 30 yards. Oh boy, I thought. There he was, sitting on his bum, kicked back, sunbathing, looked as if he didn't have a worry in the world. I have to say I would probably look the same way if I was that massive and swole, LOL. I watched him for about 30 seconds or so in total amazement. Then he hopped up onto 2 feet and started walking upright, straight in my direction. He picked up a stick on the way and switched the stick from his right hand to his left hand a few times. Then he looked real close at the stick for a second or two. Then he just tossed it to his right side like, get the F out of here, stick. LMAO. Then he sits back down on his bum and stretches out for a few seconds. Looks to the left and to the right. About that time, my neighbors started up the tractor, and the BF looks up the hill where the tractor was and calmly rolls over onto his stomach. Then he stands up on 2 legs, brushes the dirt off his knees just like a person would, and drops down onto all 4s and trotted off until he reached the woodline. He stands up on 2 legs again and reaches out and grabs a couple tree limbs with each hand and parted the trees as he stepped off into the woods and was gone. Now this guy was around 10 feet tall and probably 5 feet wide at the shoulders. The best way to picture it is to think of a silverback gorilla that's 10 feet tall. He looked like a giant gorilla, but at the same time his face and the top of the head were more human-shaped. The top of his head was round like ours. Its nose was just like ours. It came down to a point, and the nostrils were under its nose. Black hair all over its body except its face and chest. The skin was a dark, leathery gray color. Looked like he shaved on a regular basis. The hair on his body and arms and legs looked to be about 5 to 6 inches long, but the hair on top of his head and his beard was only around 1 inch long, which is why I said he shaved regularly. His eyes were just like humans. White around the outside, brown irises, and black pupils. The pupils went from the top of the iris to the bottom. That was the only difference in the eyes from human eyes. I'm not sure why, but I think he had bad eyesight because right before he took off on all 4s to the woodline, he was only about 50 yards away from me, but he never looked at me one time the entire encounter. He acted like he was the only thing in the world until the tractor started up. Anyways, the next day I go out and I sit in the same spot and I look through the same hole in the tree line and brush and had been... Hold on. Anyways, the next day I go out and sit in the same spot and look through the same hole in the tree line and brush had been poked in the hole that I was looking through to see him. So I guess there was another one watching me as I watched his partner. Crazy as hell, man. Second sighting. I didn't even know I'd seen something till the next day. I was sitting on the back porch as usual, and I seen a black face in the tree line. The brush, plants, and small trees are thick in this area, so I thought it was just some dead leaves that had withered up and turned black. Nope, it wasn't. The next day after work, I got home and went back out on the porch and sat in the same place I was sitting the day before. I looked at the spot where the black face was, and there was nothing there at all. It was a hole in the brush, and the hole was the exact size of that black face I saw the day before. I got thinking about the face I saw, and it looked pretty similar to the face of the first Bigfoot sighting. So I'm thinking it was the same one. I can't say for sure, but I think it was. Third sighting. On the back porch again, sitting in the same spot as usual, I was out there for probably 1.5 to 2 hours before I saw the giant. There wasn't anything moving at all during that time. No leaves crunching, no nothing. So he stood in the same spot for all that time without moving at all, which is crazy as hell. Excuse me, I'm looking all over the woodline during this time, and all I see is forest. Then I look up a little bit higher than what I normally do and start looking a little deeper in the tree line. And there he stood, leaned up from behind a 70-foot water oak. The best way I can describe him is to think of Caesar from the Planet of the Apes movies, the main ape in those movies. But instead of being 5 feet tall, picture him standing around 14 feet tall and around 5 feet wide at the shoulders. His head looked to be around 2.5 foot from the top of the head to the bottom of his chin. I could be wrong, but I think most human heads are only about 8 to 10 inches from top to bottom. This dude could probably chomp down on a human head and burst it as if it were a grape. So much strength. It's truly unbelievable. Unless you have seen a giant like that before, you'd probably not believe it. This guy's teeth looked like human teeth, only they were giant-sized. No canines, though. They're all square and white as pearls. Looked like he had brushed his teeth every day, 3 times a day, lol. When I first noticed him, I didn't stare at him. I started on the left side of him and looked to the right of him about 4 or 5 times, and then I looked directly at him, and he was staring right back at me. So he yawns after he knows that I've seen him. So I smile and wave to him, but he didn't wave or smile back. The look on his face, I'll probably remember it the rest of my life. He looked like he was so disgusted by me noticing him. It didn't make me feel good, that's for sure. The giant looked a lot like the first one as far as the top of his head being round, but the nose is more like an ape's. His chest was fully covered in hair. I could only see from his waistline up. The brush in the area is about 8 feet high, and I could see from his waist up. So I figured he stood around 14 feet tall. Well, that's my sightings, brother. Just thought I would share them with the family. I want to wish a happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas to everyone here. P.S. Steve, if you want to share this, I would greatly appreciate it, man. If not, it's okay. I totally understand. Excuse me. Right now, I'm in great need, brother. I had to stop working back at the end of January this year because of health problems, and I'm broke. My little bit of life savings is gone because I haven't worked the past 10 months, and I'm needing help to pay off some past due bills. Also, I'm a type 1 diabetic, so I have meds and supplies that I have to survive. I started a GoFundMe account the other day, and I was hoping if you could share it with the How to Hunt family, good sir. Thank you. God bless. All right, I don't see the link, but I'll share it. Hopefully I remember to share this, Eric. Never give up, man, all right? Don't quit. Don't quit. Just figure it out. You know, a lot of people, there's a shit pile of people right now on the planet are not doing so well financially, right? And from what I observe and what I watch, I do believe the true key is to focus on the bright, focus on the good, no matter how bad it gets, and don't quit. Don't quit. There's never an excuse to quit with anything. That's just me, though. I would like to pass that on. Just don't quit. Figure it out. Figure it out. You know what I mean? That goes for everyone. The shit gets tough. You figure it out. You don't quit. You don't rely on someone else to figure it out for you. And I'm not saying that's what's going on here. When there's a huge family like this and you got all other options have been tapped dry, it doesn't hurt to just send it out there, throw it out there, right? A GoFundMe just to help somebody along. They need to get past a speed bump in life. That's what communities are for, right? We were supposed to originally take care of each other. Originally, right? But anyways, Eric, I'll have to go back in my emails and find that link that you imagine you shared it in the email, and I'll throw it down below. And anybody can offer up anything, including encouraging words and prayers. Eric needs it, man. He needs it. I appreciate the email and you honestly sharing what you've seen. Although a lot of people are going to have a tough time to wrap their brain around it. Oh well. Take from it what you will or leave it, right? All right. What's this one? Let's mark this as red. I am one of those that sent it to your email. Sorry. It's the title of this email. Hi, Steve. You helped so much. I can't tell you how much. I bought shirts in your book. Thanks. I love them both. I passed the book on to family members after I finished it. Excuse me, I sent the story to your Pro Guide 66 site. Back in 2019, 2020, you only had 9,200 subscribers. So like many people, I've told my family members my story, and you guessed it, I got nothing but you're crazy or full of crap. Neither are true. I had one cousin I respected and thought I would tell. Big mistake. He laughed and told other family members and made stupid comments at family functions. Well, I fixed his little red wagon. We have a cottage near Algonquin Park. No shortage of reports from that area, as you may already know. So he told me he was going up there for 5 days. Asked if I wanted to go. If I was too scared to go, he said. It was September-ish. I drove 3.5 hours to do this one way. I played a baby crying for 26 minutes, then did a Tarzan type of call, laughing the whole time. I then put my helmet on and drove away back home. Something happened that evening or night. He came home the next morning. He hasn't talked to me in 5 years and refuses to go there anymore. Now, there were guns of various calibers there, so he could defend himself, but he had it coming. I've talked to his wife to see if he told her what happened, and she told me something happened, but no specifics. He would not say what happened, though. About 2 months ago, he reached out and wants to talk about it and hear about my encounters. They started when I was 13. I'm now 58. There have been several. I lived in a trailer far away from people that lived there year-round. It was a very secluded and wild area back in the 80s. I'll keep you posted. How the get-together goes. Thanks for listening. Okay, well, that's interesting. In the future, it might just be easier to pass somebody like that off to this channel. And you say you've had a bunch of experiences since you're 13. Well, there's going to be a whole pile of people here that are going to be curious to hear what went down and where it went down, right? And what happened, what you saw, what you experienced. So if you get the time, we would be interested to hear of what you know, what you've seen. And as far as your cousin goes, you might want to do your cousin a favor and send him a link to one of these videos so that your cousin knows, now that they're a member of the Club of No Return, just how big the club is. It's in the hundreds. Who knows how big it is, right? I wonder how many. I mean, come on, you guys. How many people on the face of the planet do you think has seen and knows that some real crazy shit is actually going on? I wonder how many people. It has to be in the millions. I think it's possibly in the millions just in North America. I think. Right? I mean, there's a small handful of channels out there that I do enjoy listening to when I have time, and I don't think I'm even subscribed to them. I think I just type in the name and do a name search and click on them. I hit the video, see if there's a new one, then I click on it, and then I listen to it as I'm doing my thing. So I'm just saying, knowing me, I have a funny feeling that there may be a significant larger amount of people listening to, say, this channel than are subscribed to it, right? Obviously there is. I mean, what is there? 300,000 plus people have subscribed, but the channel routinely gets millions of views per month. So that's a lot of people. I wonder how many of them are members of the club direct. Anyway, I'm not quite settled in. I'm not in my video zone yet completely like I was before I left. I'm still a little disconnected. I have a lot of things I need to do yet. I haven't even unpacked all my bag yet. I've got that deer's head sitting on top of the freezer I got to deal with. I still have some of the meat I got to deal with here. It's sitting outside in the cool air. I have all my hunting stuff to organize and put away. Actually, I might go deer hunting around here, though. I have a spot. I have a curiosity up, and I just might go. I've still got a deer tag left. I can always utilize that healthy table fare. So there. Share my story at howtohunt.com. And I got a text from the big boss. Got a text from the big boss this morning when I first got in here. What'd she say to me? She said, where is it? Excuse me. Oh. Okay, so so it's Black Friday today, whatever that is. I honestly haven't a clue. All right, I don't know. Some shopping day or something. I don't know. Why would it be called Black Friday? I haven't a clue. I think that's today. And she did a sale for everything in her store with a code. The code is BF20. All right? And then she took a screenshot of something. I guess she mailed it out. I don't know. There you go. So she did this. All right? She did this. Some sort of sale on her store and everything in it today with the use of a code. There you go. I know I sound a little awkward with all this, but it's Chinese to me, right? The code is BF20 on the How to Hunt store. There you go, shared. Now, getting back to knowledge. It's going to be a handful of people out there that get angry with me with my public voice on booking Sasquatch expeditions, etc. Well, at this stage of the game, I don't give a shit who you are. If you're involved in something like that, you got it coming. At this stage of the game, you got it coming. We are far, far, way too advanced in knowledge in this topic to be stuck back there in the Stone Age of duping people for their money to take them for a walk in the woods. Please. Please. Yeah, anyway. I got so much shit I'd love to talk to all you about. I want to talk to people live on here. I want to have people in here. There's so many things I want to do. And like I said earlier, I already know it. I'm trying to live 5 lifetimes at once. It can get frustrating, but it's better than being, it's better than settling, right? It's better than settling. Anyway, if you really want to make a difference in the world, try to convince your community to slow down. Try to convince your society to slow down. Just slow down. That's the key. Slow down. Quit racing to gobble up everything, to pay for everything, because some criminals are taking the majority of our money right now and controlling you, the labor, for their interest. And that is true. But you want to make a difference? Slow down. Slow down. Share my story at howtohunt.com, all right? That's where you're going to get it shared word for word, and I want to hear from every single one of you. I want to hear about every single thing that you've seen and what you know. I want to hear it. I want to hear it all. I don't give a shit how crazy you think it is. Don't be scared. Not anymore. All right? You found your people. I'll be back later.